Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Bernard Business Consulting Live Ask Me Anything. Hi to our audience on our LinkedIn and also on our YouTube channel. So if you can hear me now, please type 1. Please type number 1 in the comment if you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, so for those who have joined our live previously, thank you for returning. Okay, it's good to see you again. All right, and for our audience who are new to Bernard Business Consulting live session on LinkedIn and also YouTube, welcome you today. So we have been running for 3. I think today is the 4th live session we have been doing since the beginning of 2024. So during each live session, we'll share the recent hot topic around ESG and sustainability. Okay, and you will have a chance to interact directly to a consultant, which is me, about you have any questions that you want to ask about ESG and sustainability. Feel free, yes, it's free. Feel free to drop it in the comment and I'll answer one by one. All right. So today's topic is around CBAM. So CBAM is basically carbon border adjustment mechanism. So let's wait for a while for people to join in. Okay. So I've seen someone commented in the chat already. Hi, Yap from YouTube, and then we have Ikchu from the LinkedIn, and Ruyi, Kuan Yue. Also, these are my team members. And we also have Benoit. Hi everyone. Okay, so it's I think lunch break, or probably you have just had your lunch if you are following Malaysian time. Okay, so I think we can begin the session, and I will have my team to flash the slides. Okay. All right. So this live session goes like this. I'll give a short presentation about the topic of the day, and you can along the presentation you can drop any question that you have, and then I will answer your question after my presentation. Cool. If you think it's great, then give me a thumbs up. Say yes. Let's begin. Okay, so my slides is up, and I'll bring you through today's agenda. The first is to gain a clear understanding of CBAM and its potential impact on your business operations, okay? And to develop a clear roadmap, okay, what you're gonna do to comply with this CBAM regulation. And maybe you'll be wondering, okay, when is our next live Ask Me Anything? I'll tell you right away, it's on 22nd August. So mark your calendar, Thursday, same time, 1:15 to 2 p.m. And for this time, the topic will be around carbon trading. All right, so let's wait no more and go into today's topic. All right. So I think 2 weeks ago, I put up a poll on my personal LinkedIn profile. So I asked my connections, what question do you have for EU CBAM? Because I want to know, okay, what is the awareness level of Malaysian or maybe international friends of mine? So the result shown here is that a lot of people want to know what is CBAM. Then the second highest question they have is how to comply with CBAM. And finally, how does CBAM affect businesses? So today, I will answer your 3 questions, okay? So first, what is CBAM? If we do not understand what is that, how are we gonna to think like, okay, how am I going to do about it, right? So CBAM stands for Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. It is a new regulation which imposes carbon tax on imported goods in the EU. So meaning that last time in Malaysia, you pay for your SST, you paid for your GST. So now there's a new tax called carbon tax. So the EU, European Commission, they started this carbon tax because they want to fight carbon leakage. Okay, what is that meaning? So because EU, they been a long time, they're very matured in this kind of sustainability initiatives. They want to reduce their carbon emissions as much as possible. And there's some penalties or some costs imposed on those manufacturers who are located in the EU. So they are businessmen, they are very smart, So if EU is going to charge me a tax on manufacturing activities, then I just need to move out my manufacturing activities to out of EU. Then I don't need to pay for the carbon tax if, let's say, the country where my factory is operating doesn't have this carbon tax policy. So now EU see that there's some loophole in this, because not like around our earth, not every countries are at the same level progressing to achieve this net zero. Okay, so the EU say that, okay, so if you want to import your semi-product or semi-finished or finished goods into the EU, then I gotta impose this tax on you. All right. So there are 6 industries that are covered under this CBAM for now. So the 6 industries are cement, iron and steel, aluminium, fertilizers, electricity, and hydrogen. So for Malaysian particularly, we have around a total of 8% of export goes into the EU. So actually this carbon tax, it is a cost, it's something significant to us. And from our experience working with our clients, most of them are from the iron and steel and aluminium industry that they need to produce this CBAM report to their customer in the EU. Okay, so for me, I see this as something encouraging. It's a motivation, it's an excellent driving force to encourage industries to actually reduce their climate change impact and explore cost reduction, because we need to measure your energy consumption. And when this energy consumption is translated into carbon emission and there's a cost to it, now you will start to think, okay, if I want to reduce this carbon tax, I have to reduce my carbon emission and I have to reduce my energy consumption. So it's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You save on your carbon tax, you save on your electricity bill. So the way I see it, this CBAM, there's the good and the bad. But if you see it from the good side, then you feel more motivated, or you can say happier when you need to comply to this regulation. Okay, so how does this CBAM work? So now we are in the transitional phase. It started in 1st October 2023. So it will last until 31st December 2025. So now the importers, they must register and submit quarterly CBAM report. So they need to tell, okay, how much goods you have imported, how much is the direct and indirect emissions, and is there any carbon price already paid in the country of origin? All right. So during this transitional phase, you only need to report. You only need to do reporting. There's no any financial payments involved, because the EU wants you to be familiar with the reporting system, what you need to do. But starting July 31st, importers, you can no longer rely on the default emissions. EU, they publish a default emissions value. Because they understand that companies, maybe they face some challenges to collect their primary data right away. So you can submit the quarterly report using a default value while your team is trying to produce the report, the data by your own. But this, I would say, privilege will only last until 31st July. And starting August, you will need to report at least 80% of your primary data. All right. So what happens after the transitional phase? It is the permanent system. So starting 1st of January 2026. So here is where the carbon tax will hit you hard, because importers, you have to buy CBAM certificates to offset the carbon cost difference between EU and the country of origin. Okay, so example, if let's say Singapore, if I'm not mistaken, the carbon tax now is at $25 per ton. Okay, so if let's say your product is produced in Singapore and you have already paid $25 per ton to your government, and when you import this product to the EU, I just give a rough figure lah. Maybe in EU, they are charging 60 euro per ton. Okay, so you only need to pay the price difference to the EU after deducting the $25 per ton that you have already paid to your Singapore government. All right, so in Malaysia, we do not have carbon tax yet. So it means that if until 2026, Malaysia still doesn't have a carbon tax, we will need to pay 100% of it to the EU government. All right. So by May 31st, you don't need to produce a quarterly report anymore. It will be an annual report, and it's a verified report. So you need to get probably a third-party verifier to verify that your data is accurate. Okay, so what I want to say to you is that start now to familiarize yourself with the CBAM reporting system before the cost hits you. All right, so goes to the second question. How does CBAM affect businesses? So there's a new law, your admin, your exporter who is in the export department will need to have more compliance work to meet the requirements. You need to study very well, so make sure that you are complying with it, and you also need to consider the ability of your supplier to give you the data, because some of the data needed is from the raw material. So you buy the raw material from a supplier, you will need to ask for the emissions data from your supplier. So probably if let's say you have 5 different suppliers for that one raw material, those who can give you the emissions data will be the one that you prioritize to have to continue the business relationship with them. Okay, so number 3 is that you need a additional cost to hire a CBAM consultant to get things started right, because I would say it's a good investment. You do the first time you do it right, then for the subsequent year you just need to maintain the reporting, maintain the data collection system. It will save you a lot of time and you can live peacefully. Okay. And then next is to motivate the exercise of carbon emissions reporting lah. All right. And then next, because you know that there's a cost to it, so you will need to reduce your carbon emissions. So there's an improvement over there. Yeah. So it goes to the cost from paying penalties. And lastly, it will help you to reduce the operating cost in the long run. Okay. So for the effects of 1, 2, 3 is short term, but for 4, 5, 6, and 7 is a long term effect. So if you put your focus on the long term effect, then I feel you'll be more more motivated to do it. Okay, so now is the best time to start. You can learn and make a mistake now when it's still cheap, because the penalties are not in yet. Okay, so probably if you are ready to comply with CBAM, so the question you have is how? Okay, so these steps are, I extracted it from the training slides provided by EU CBAM. Okay, so step 1, define the scope of goods concerned. So you want to know, okay, for the product I export into the EU, are they categorized under CBAM? So you need to check the CN code, okay? And step 2 is to determine the monitoring period, because you need to collect data. So you need to set that, okay, do I want to collect a quarter data, 3 months data, or a half-year data, or a 1-year data to do my calculation? And then step 3 is to identify all the parameters you need to report. Some of them might be your tons of raw material use, your annual production output in tons, and your scope 1 emissions, scope 2 emissions. Okay, so probably it's like the amount, how many liters of fuel you consume, or how many kilowatt hours of electricity you consume. And finally is to collect data on the carbon price that you have paid in your country, if there's any lah. Okay, so these steps, I suggest you to get the right person to help you, study it right, and the whole process that comes later, it will ease your mind. Okay, so So now we have heard about greenhouse gas emissions before CBAM is introduced. Like people has been talking about GHG protocol, ISO 14064, which is the carbon emissions at organizational level, and even ISO 14067, which is the carbon footprint of product. So these slides, you can get it from CBAM website, official website. So it tells you that comparing the emissions covered by CBAM and comparing it to the common terms we understand, scope 1, 2, 3, which emission is covered in CBAM scope, those that are partially and those that are not. So here I will just tell you what is not covered under the CBAM scope, which is the raw materials, transportation and distribution, and the previous waste. Okay. And then here the raw materials, you need to separate it, because if let's say you have a list of 10 raw materials, those that are covered under the 6 materials under the CBAM, example is the precursor material like the iron ore, those kind of thing. Then if let's say the raw material you use is plastic, so those are not covered. You don't need to report the emissions from the amount of plastic you consume. Okay, and also scope 3, indirect emissions, those downstream like transportation and distribution, end of life, or the emissions during the usage of your product. Okay, so that's my short presentation. I try to keep it short so you have I have more time to answer the question that you have in your mind. All right, so yeah, so let's begin the Q&A session. Okay, so let me go through the comments. So those who have questions, you can put it in the comment and I will pick by sequence lah. Okay, and our Q&A will end around 1:55. If you have any questions, put it up in the comment as soon as possible. Okay, so we have our first question from Bernard. So Bernard asks, are finished products comprising iron and steel, for example, concerned by CBAM for now? My answer to your question is yes. So we have been working with clients who are producing screws and bolts, nuts, and some of them even the electronic products which has some metal component in it. They are coming to us. They tell us that my EU customer is asking for CBAM report. I do not know what is that. Can you help me to produce it? So I think iron and steel so far is the one that we are seeing a lot of top priority in the CBAM reporting. Okay, so we have our second question from Ichu. When CBAM will impose to plastic industry and BOPP tape industry? Okay, so for this plastic industry, okay, I think 2 weeks ago, I attended a conference by Malaysian Plastic Manufacturer Association and PMA. The same question is there. So the thing is, plastic is made of petrochemical. And petrochemical, we know that they are from oil and gas. So it's actually, I would say, it's in the downstream product. And CBAM also said it in their website that they might consider those products in the downstream which is quite carbon intensive. So from what I understand, the current situation is plastic. There is a chance. There's a possibility that, but maybe not now, probably for the next 3 to 5 years, plastic will be considered one of the product under CBAM. Although there's no such statement comes from the EU themselves, but looking at the components of plastic, there is a chance, okay? And BOPP tape. Okay, so for tape, I would say there's a possibility lah. Yeah. So for now, the direction is like this, because CBAM is complementary to the EU emission trading system. So whatever industry is covered under EU ETS, slowly but surely the CBAM will cover it as well. So if we want to know more about the future coverage under CBAM, so we need to understand, you guys, it's available online, the information. You can go to EU ETS website and see what industries is covered under EU ETS for now. Okay. All right. Next question from Kevin Ho. I think this is Dr. Kevin. Okay. So he's asking from YouTube. Does ISO 14067 require LCA to be done? Okay, so this question is not related to CBAM, but I'm okay to answer for it. The answer is yes. So for ISO 14067, you will need to align your reporting, how you do the product category rules, PCR, according to ISO 14040 and 14044. Okay. So yeah, so you need to do it according to LCA. So since we touched about ISO 14067, right? We also received some of the questions from clients. They are confused. Is my customer actually requesting me to do carbon footprint of product ISO 14067, or they are asking me to do CBAM? Okay, so if you're confused with it, directly ask your customer. Tell them, do you want me to do carbon footprint or CBAM? Because for these two, the data coverage is different. But if you do ISO 14067, for sure you'll get the data required for CBAM. Okay. So the next question from Kwan Yuan. What industry is affected for CBAM? Okay, so as I shared in my slide just now, cement, iron and steel, aluminium, fertilizers, electricity, and hydrogen. Okay, we have a question from Yap from YouTube. If our products are not within the 6 categories, anything we shall do at the current stage for CBAM? My answer is no. Okay, so CBAM is something by compliance. So if let's say I think you should put priority on what is urgent now. So for me, I think that CBAM is not on your top priority, so you should put your focus on other things. All right, but if let's say you want to use CBAM as a motivator for you to reduce your carbon emissions, I encourage you to do it. So it will be something voluntary. You do it on your own. You have a commitment to environmental sustainability. You want to reduce your company's, your product carbon emission. Sure, we welcome you to do it. And it's even better because usually when you want to do it because someone asks you to do it, regulation, the authority asks you to do it, then you just do it for the bare minimum. Okay, but if your company, business owner, your management, they have the heart, the intention to reduce your company environmental footprint, you want to do good with your business, then I'll say you can take this chance as a motivator for you to kickstart your company-wide decarbonization plan. Okay. All right. And we have a next question from LinkedIn from Bernard. So, all finished products exported to EU with raw materials included in the first phase of CBAM are concerned by the reporting. For example, something that would have 1% aluminum is also concerned. Is it? Okay, so for now, it's no. So the finished product that you export into the EU, you will have a CN code to it, right? Or they call it HS code. So if only your product CN code is covered by the CBAM for now, then only you are required to report according to CBAM. So if let's say your product probably is a finished product with 1% aluminum, I'm not sure, maybe a furniture or electronic product. If let's say your customer in the EU doesn't request for it, then there's no need to do it. But if let's say they start to request, then you will have the obligation to do it. Okay, so for now, it really depends on how eager your customer wants to do it, want to comply to the EU regulation. Okay, so we have a question from Kevin from the YouTube as well. Is the data for CBAM much simpler to obtain than the data for ISO 14067? Could you provide illustrations? Okay, so for this, the first question, so the answer is yes. For CBAM, the data needed is lesser. So if you need illustration, you can go to EU. Actually, they publish a CBAM. Let me see if I can put it in the chat for you. Okay, yeah, I think it's this. Let me copy the link and share with you in the chat. Okay, I think maybe I'll get my team to share with you. It'll be easier. Okay. All right. So according to this document, is the guidance. Okay. So in the guidance, I'm not sure which page lah, but there is an illustration in the guideline that shows you the illustration. So you can check out that page. I think it's in the midway or near to the second half of the guideline. Okay, so Kwan Yun has a question from LinkedIn. Is ISO 14067 same as CBAM? I've answered that question just now. The answer is no. Okay. Okay, I'm very happy with this LinkedIn live because this live session because our audience, you guys are so curious. I see that you really want to learn to understand this more. So yeah, so just keep the question, keep it coming, and we only have I think around 8 minutes left. Yeah, 8 minutes left. Eight plus 5. We end around 1:55. If you have any questions, just put it up now. Or if let's say you have questions not about CBAM but related to greenhouse gas emissions, I'm fine to answer it for you as well. Oh yes, I just remembered. I think a few days ago, we have a client that asked us, is ISO 14064 required under CBAM? Okay, so as I mentioned just now, ISO 14064 -1, it's for you to report, to measure and report your organizational greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, so it's not required under CBAM. All right. But if let's say you want to do it, you can do it because a lot of reporting, if you want to do ESG reporting or you are required to report it under, probably you are listed on some stocks exchanges, usually they require you to report scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 greenhouse gas emissions. So that will be similar to how ISO 14064-1 works. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, we have a new question from Ichu. I have extra solar energy export to grid. Okay. Can this exported solar energy can count GHG removal? Okay, so there are a few terms around GHG. GHG reduction, GHG removal. So for solar energy, it's actually considered under GHG reduction. It's not considered under GHG removal. Okay, GHG removal, some of the techniques will be like carbon, the CCUS, carbon capture, usage, and storage. So it's like literally you capture the carbon from the atmosphere and maybe pump it down into the sink under the ground, or you pump it into the cement. Okay. So maybe I think maybe the question you want to ask is maybe a lot of like you can offset it or not, like try to reduce your emission. So here's the thing. If we do it according to ISO 14064, you need to report whatever energy that you use. So if your factory, last time you used the electricity from the grid, and for Malaysia, our grid, the full mix is from coal, from natural gas, a little portion of it is from renewable energy. So you will have an emission to it. But if let's say one day you install the solar panel in your company, or you purchase it from a solar farm, and you totally no need to use any electricity from the national grid, from TNB, you totally have zero TNB bill to pay. In that case, your scope 2 emission, electricity, the emissions from electricity consumption will be zero. Okay, so now is your case. You produce a lot of electricity from solar. You use what you need and you sell off the extra to the grid. So for this case, my answer for you is that you cannot do those carbon offset. You cannot do it for that. Okay. But you will get zero emissions for your scope 2 emissions, because you rely 100% on renewable energy. But what you can do is, I think now is a feed-in tariff So when you have extra electricity that goes back to the grid, so you get some money, some additional extra income from there. So probably you can use the income from the solar energy you sell to the grid to improve your process, improve your machines efficiency, to even reduce the energy consumption or fuel consumption. Wow, I think we have a very great audience here today. The questions you guys ask are very sharp, and I believe you guys somehow have something that in your mind already that you want to do. So if let's say you want to start doing it, because probably everyone is trying to understand what is GHG, what is CBAM, what is carbon offset. So if you really want to start doing it and you need someone to guide you, feel free to talk to us. Send a message, send an email to Bernard Business Consulting, and we are happy to help. Okay, so yeah, so our next live is about carbon trading. Okay, so carbon trading is basically, we have a carbon credit project that produce carbon credit. So now carbon has become a commodity. So people can buy and sell the carbon. Probably from the price difference you get a profit, or you want to retire carbon credit to support your company's net zero target. Okay, so we have the carbon trading live in next month. So yeah, if let's say there are no more questions at the end, if in this live, then I think we can end now. All right. Okay, so if you need help on CBAM reporting, just contact us at this hotline 019-968-0988. All right. Oh, okay. So we have one last question from Dr. Kevin. Are CBAM offsets the same as carbon credit? CBAM offsets. Okay, I'm not sure what you are asking. CBAM offsets. Okay, carbon offsets? Is it carbon offset? Okay, so if that's the case, okay, maybe I do not get your question. But if let's say, let me check if I have anything on CBAM offset. But it's okay. Maybe you can text me personally after that, then I can answer your question. All right. So oh, we have okay. Maybe this is the one last question from Yeli on LinkedIn. How is status quo in Malaysia is tracing upstream embedded emission data for precursor, as it is easy to trace operator of installations embedded emission, but not for tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers. Yes. So this is, I would say, you need someone to start doing it. So if let's say this installation, you can directly because everything, the operation is within your control. You can get the data from production team, from your procurement team, from your finance team. But what about the data that you need from your supplier? Example, from the raw material, the precursor material that you purchase from. So it comes from the external force. You need to somehow influence your supplier, get them to start measuring their embedded emission as well. Okay, so I'm not sure how you can do this, but probably if you are a big company, if your supplier is an SME, they have financial challenges, then it depends on how you collaborate with each other, get the teamwork together and produce this CBAM report. Or if let's say you need some financial help, I think MIDA is giving out some grants that can help you with that. Okay, so basically it's influence. Someone need to start doing, and when they request the data from the supplier know, oh, so there's this CBAM thing going on. Maybe I need to do it as well. If not, my customer will run away and find someone who can provide them this data. In Malaysia, unfortunately, SMEs are not required. They do not have the obligation to measure their greenhouse gas emissions yet. Public listed company, they can do it. They must do it because Bursa Malaysia enhanced sustainability reporting guideline request for it. So there's much more education effort that's needed in Malaysia to actually green the whole supply chain. Okay, so I think that's it for today. Thank you for your participation, and I'll see you in the next live. Bye.